if you can get somebody on your newsletter, and hopefully you're not just selling them one $14.99 book, you're going to sell them multiple
True.
$14.99 books over the author career as they become a super fan of yours. They're your warmest leads, you're most supportive. I'm a big proponent. Be good to your newsletter subscribers. Occasionally, if I have a book coming out, I'll just be like, hey, this comes out next week. Here's your free copy. Or I'll put a book for free and not tell anybody else, but I'll give it away to my newsletter.
My guest today is Tara Grace Ericson, and I'm so excited to have her. Tara has written lovely sweet romance. Would you call them sweet romance, or do you call them just clean romance? I know there's different terms right now.
I call them Christian romance. I'm
Christian
very
romance.
firmly like, this is Christian fiction. There's a lot of Jesus in here. Don't be surprised to find it.
Okay, well, that's a good clarifying thing. Christian romance novels, and quite a few of them, right? What number are you up to now?
I think my 15th full-length book came out this week.
Amazing. Amazing. Like, you have put words down for 15 books. That's impressive. And so I'm so excited to get to talk to you because you have put this in action. You have been writing words, you have been publishing them, getting them into a hands of a reader. And I think this is going to really give us a chance to talk about that business side of Christian fiction that we kind of all know about, but we don't really talk about. So I'm excited to get to ask you some questions because you actually made the decision to just self-publish right off the bat. You didn't go the traditional publishing route. So I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation that we're going to have today. But before we dive into that, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, about who you are, who your family is, what you write, all those things.
Yeah, so I am Tara and I live in Missouri with my family. I have 3 boys and they are ages 6, 3, and 18 months.
Oh, you
So
have littles.
I have littles.
Oh,
Yes, so challenges abound
mhm.
when it comes to that. I have been writing and publishing for about 4 years.
Mhm.
And before that, I actually worked as an engineer in the corporate world,
Okay. So I read
manufacturing.
that. I read that on your website and I was like, I need to ask her about this because how does one go from being an engineer to writing Christian romance novels?
And it's a windy path and very much a God thing.
Okay.
I resisted for quite a while that I was supposed to write and publish books because that was not my plan. I
Okay.
think, most authors, when you ask them this question, how'd you start writing and when did you
Mhm.
think about it? And it's always, oh, way back when I was a kid, I love to tell stories.
Yeah.
And I was not that. I am
You
not
weren't
that
that kid?
author.
You were not
No.
that kid?
And
Oh my goodness.
I
Okay.
never had ambitions to be an author. I wasn't one who wrote for fun or anything. I read millions of books, and one day I was on an airplane and I started writing this book, that the story in my head. And it wasn't until a couple years later that God was like, hey, remember that book that you kind of have
Okay.
finished? It's kind of time to pull it out. And I was like, what? No,
Oh, that's
I
so
have, world dreams.
yes.
And God really had to change my view of success and
Mm.
purpose and redirect me, and continues to do so every day.
Yes. So how did you make that decision? Like, you are a full-time writer. You are no longer in the corporate world, are you?
Right. Yes.
Had you published already before you made that decision, or did you just say, nope, this is the line in the sand, what
Yeah.
God's calling me to do, I'm just going to do it?
There was God called us out of my current position at work. We relocated. My husband
Mm-hmm.
took a new job, and when we did that, I said, I don't think that I'm supposed to get a new one. And we
Mm,
kind of went, ooh, how do
yeah.
you go from 2 full-time
Mm-hmm.
engineering incomes to one? And
Right.
made some tough decisions, but God has been really faithful and blessed us. And I have been able to stay home, even when I wasn't earning any income from my
Right.
writing. So that has been the biggest relief is I don't have the pressure to earn from my writing. I have been blessed to be able to do so.
Mm-hmm.
but I've been able to focus on the writing in that season.
Do you approach it like it's a business, or do you approach it like it's a, this is the thing I do and then I just have to do these things to get it out in the world? Or are you like, this is my job, this is what I do, and this is how I need
Yeah,
to think about it?
it's very much my job.
Okay.
I think, I mean, I love the writing, but I
Mm-hmm.
do really enjoy the business side of it. And coming from the corporate world, it was sort of this natural transition of, oh, instead of selling this product that I worked to sell as an engineer, now I'm
Mm,
selling my books. And so I really
okay.
love this. Uh, I feel like the writing, especially as an indie author, like it's a business,
Mm-hmm.
it's an art, and for the Christian, it's a ministry. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really cool that it can be all three. It
Mm,
doesn't have to, you don't have to sacrifice the ministry just because it's also a business. And you don't have to sacrifice the art just because you want to produce a lot of product or anything like that.
those are wise words, very wise words. And I love that you brought that up because I think sometimes as writers, once you start throwing out words like, oh, you need to know your reader, you need to know how to market to them, you need to position yourself, you need to build your platform, they start to twitch. And they start to go, but it's supposed to be about the art or it's supposed to be about Jesus. And you're like, well, it can be also about the business side. And
Yes.
let's make the money so we can get the book in the hands of people so they can hear about Jesus, you know?
Yeah, I
So,
think the marketing aspect of it and the business aspect of it is how can I get this story into the hands of the most readers possible? And
mm-hmm,
that's by selling the most copies possible
mm-hmm.
and presenting it in an attractive package with a great cover and a great story and good editing and something that they're going to enjoy and recommend, and that it's going to be something that people share.
Yes. And your books do that. They have beautiful covers and your writing is very, very well done. And so,
You
um, and I I I read on your website you're like, I love Hallmark movies and I'm not ashamed of that. And these are the type of books that I write. And I loved that you owned it because I'll be honest, I'm not, those are not typically the books I read, but that's okay. Like I don't have to be your reader. You're not trying to reach me. You're trying to provide a certain story to a certain demographic. And the more you know that, the more you hone in on that, the more you're able to target them, right? And get your book to them because then you
yeah.
can find them. So, as you have taken on this role of both writer and entrepreneur, writer and business owner, has that been an easy thing for you to do? To kind of think through those things like who's my reader and how do I get to them and how do I market to them?
I think in some ways for me that has been the easier side than the learning the writing side,
Well,
right? Because
that's
I
true. You weren't wanting to
wasn't a
be a
writer.
writer.
I
That's
wasn't a writer.
true.
So not only was I trying to learn the publishing industry and all that went along with that, I was trying to figure out what the heck is a story beat and what is a black moment. And I had no clue. My
Mm-hmm.
first book, I just totally pantsed it,
Mm-hmm.
had no idea what I was doing. To some extent, I still don't feel like I do. I still am a pantser, or a premise writer, or however
Right.
you want to describe it. But the entrepreneurial side of it came easier after I had written a few books and I had kind of the shift of, oh, I actually do have enough books to make this work.
Mm,
I see authors doing this with, I think I or 4 books out, and I was like, I should be earning a little bit more money than this. Like they're not taking
right.
off for me. People aren't finding them. So what do I need to change? And so when I did that and I really dove into the learning, the marketing and the business side of it, everything sort of clicked, and
Mm,
I could draw those connections of what I had learned previously in corporate
mm-hmm.
America and what I was learning in the book world,
Okay.
and kind of tie those together to make a strategy.
Right.
Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
But that's business in general, right? Like you have to be willing to try things. And I think half half of our problems are when we give up too early. Like when we're like, oh, this isn't working because I tried it a couple times and it didn't work. And it's like, well, did you try it the fourth time? Maybe that will actually kick off,
Yeah, one of my favorite things about being an indie is that you have that freedom to
Mm,
try again or change something. I rewrote the endings to my first series because I wasn't seeing read through. I said, well,
right.
talk to some other authors. And I said, well, if you do this, you might see better read through.
Oh, are you saying like from the ebooks? Like, does it track
Yeah.
the, oh, it tracks the ebooks, how far
Mhm.
long people go in their books.
No,
Okay.
no, not no, from like book one to book two,
Okay. Okay. I
book
was
two to
wondering, I'm
book
like,
three. Yeah.
mm, okay.
Um, yeah. So I changed the ending to book one so that people were more enticed to go on to book two, and same for book
Oh,
two to book three. And that was after the books had been out for a year. But
that,
because you're an indie, you can do that. You know,
right.
if you don't get caught up in the sentimentality of, but this is my baby and I wrote it this way and I
Mhm.
can't change it, um, you can really be flexible and pivot and respond to some of the things that are working or not working.
That's a really interesting point. I've never heard anybody use that point as a pro for self-publishing. But that's a very interesting perspective. And I want to point out that you use the phrase indie publishing or independent publishing.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that in with fiction, people call it independent publishing, but when you're in the nonfiction world, they call it self-publishing, but they're actually the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to make sure. So when you're saying indie publishing, you mean self-publishing. You
I do.
mean utilizing the tools of the trade out there, whether that's print on demand or ebooks or audiobooks or whatever you might have access to. You're using all of that to produce a product that you can then put out in the world. So, how did you make that decision that you weren't even going to bother with traditional publishing? You're just going to be like, not interested. Let me just go right to self-publishing.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I was broke and reading any sweet and clean Hallmarky romances that I
Right?
could get for 99 cents and free. And I discovered a ton of really talented indie authors. And this was
Mm,
in, 2012,
okay.
20, 2013, something like that. And so I started following a few of these independent authors and seeing what they were doing. I'm not even sure if I realized at that time that they were independent. I don't know if I knew that
Mm,
there was a difference. They
right.
were just books and they were cheap and I was poor. So as I started writing my book or came back to the book that had been sitting on my hard drive for 2 years and felt like God was telling me I needed to publish this book, there were some resources that I had kind of come by in happenstance of how to indie publish because authors
Okay.
had shared them that I happened to follow, which I looking back, I can see over and over again, God like having his little
Preparing
hand in
you.
there. Because I don't actually subscribe to author email newsletters,
Yeah.
but the one author email I actually ended up subscribing to, she ended up having a platform where she worked with writers on publishing stuff. So it
Okay.
was it was an interesting kind of learning journey, but I know some things about myself that lent towards me not wanting to pursue traditional publishing. The first being that I am very impatient and
And you couldn't wait 2 years to get your book out there?
exactly.
Plus years, right? Like, let's be honest, 2 years from contract, not necessarily 2 years from the time you write your book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And going through the whole querying and
Mhm.
trying to find somebody who wants it and all of that is not something that I wanted to sign up for
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. I also I like to make the decisions. And so I really was attracted to the idea of I get to choose, what the cover looks like and what the story is and if something stays or if something goes.
Mhm.
And, I was able to put some tough topics, especially into my first few books that I felt like were really on my heart,
Mm.
that there's no way a publishing house would have touched those
Yes.
books just because of the content. And so
Yeah.
um, I say I'm a leap before you look type of person. So I had probably published 2 or 3 books before I even realized that there was another option. But
Okay.
looking back, I can see that it was 100% the right choice for me at the time. So,
Yeah. And I would assume that coming at it with that corporate background where you kind of understood sales and marketing, like here's a product, this is how I'm selling it, that probably helped a little bit in being okay with the self-publishing side of things, like owning it. But I liked what you said. I liked what you said about wanting to like own the decision-making process because I think as writers, we need to really be aware of that. That, if you are that type of personality where you want to have more ownership over the craft, if you want to have more ownership over the decision-making process of rewriting the ending of your book if it needs to be, right? Like taking in market feedback and being able to adjust and move with your readership and being able to provide a really good product for them. If you want that, then something like an independent publishing is the way to go. Traditional publishing is not going to meet your need if that is where your personality lies. And so being really honest with yourself and being okay. And, we kind of have this perspective in the Christian publishing world that like having one of the bigger publishers, especially with fiction, publish your fiction somehow makes it better than if it's indie published.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know you have said on posts and stuff in the past that that's not true. And what would you say to that person who's saying, well, but yeah, isn't it a little bit better? Like if there's that gatekeeper person, the agent and the editor, if they have that gatekeeper, it helps with the quality. What would you say to that person?
I would say that it's okay to let the reader be the gatekeeper.
Ooh.
And if the book is good enough for the reader, then it doesn't matter if it was good enough for the agent or good enough for the publisher. It's good enough. And it can be a book that is enjoyed by 100,000 people and still not be the right fit for a publisher or an agent. And it has nothing to do with you or the quality of your work or the story. It just is the timing and the the genre and whether or not they feel like it's a good business decision for them in that moment. But I'm all for letting the readers decide whether it's a good book or not.
Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps when you said that. That is so good. That is gold right there. I love that. Let the reader be the gatekeeper. I am totally quoting you on that and making a post of it. I love it. I love that so much. And I think that's so good. So
Yeah.
good. And if we all approached it that way, oh man, what we could do for Christian fiction if we all approached it that way.
Yeah. I think I know about myself that I am the type, and despite my wise quotes here, I am the type of person who will seek my validation from people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am the type of person who will want to make a name for myself. I want those things, and God has used indie publishing kind of to humble me in that way. To
Yeah.
say, hey, you're not going to walk into Barnes and Noble and see your book on the shelf, but your book still is important. Your
Mm-hmm.
book, your words still matter.
Because
Instead
it's
of
about obedience at that point. It's not about what you produce. It's about being obedient to the calling that God's placed
right,
on your life.
yeah. So the validation comes for me from the readers who message me and say, hey, this book really really helped me at a time when I was going through cancer treatment,
Mm.
or somebody in my family died, or whatever. It made me want to read my Bible more. Like,
Oh,
that's the validation. Like, it's not about seeing my name on a book,
right.
on the store shelf, or knowing that I was published by this publisher and they said I was good enough. God has been really faithful to validate me in ways that are less grandiose, but in my opinion, more um, more heartfelt, or more
Mm,
more touching to me, I guess.
I love that. That's so beautiful. So you have published this, you just published at the time of this recording, you just released the book on Monday, which congratulations on number 15. That's a huge accomplishment. You said you've been doing this about 4 years, so that's a lot of books in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I'm
And
averaging
you
about 4 to 5 a year.
4 to 5 a year.
Yeah.
You have 3 littles. How are you accomplishing that? Because I know every mother who is listening to this podcast is like, how the heck are you doing this?
I will say for the first year or so, I called myself a trophy wife because I had my kids in childcare, full day daycare, and I was writing and not earning any money whatsoever. So there was some time there where I was able to just focus on writing. Beyond after that, after I felt God saying, no, this isn't why I called you to writing. God called me to bring my kids home from daycare in January of 2020, right before the pandemic. So he was really gracious to allow me to do that willingly instead of when it
because you had to
on me anyway.
Yeah.
But it's been a challenge. It's been a lot of sacrifice. It's been a lot of creativity in when can I sneak a few words in here and there. I dictated one whole book while I was nursing one of my babies, essentially. I had my little recorder on my shoulder and I would just speak the words.
That's amazing.
It took some so there's a learning curve there for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of writing on my phone, a lot of late nights, some early mornings, less early mornings, but yeah. So you just do what you have to do. I had stories to tell. I had business goals to work toward, and I just did what I could. A lot of support from a wonderful partner is probably the most underrated thing.
Yes, I agree. I have one of those too. And it's definitely makes a difference when you're working as a team towards a common goal. You're outlining your writing as a goal that your family's trying to accomplish together, not just you.
Yes. So there were some, full Saturdays where I was able to sneak away or writing retreat here and there with friends and things like that.
Okay. You just mentioned goals. Like, do you set out a goal for yourself at the beginning of the year, like business goals, quarterly goals? Do you do in like goal forecasting like that? Or are you kind of like just per book? Huh?
I try to. I have not, I love goal setting. I love strategy. I love, looking forward and all of that. But I have in the last year really struggled to make time to carve out and do that process. I am more productive the months or quarters that I know that I set that time aside. So I do like to do it quarterly for sure. I do monthly goals are good too, but I like the quarterly system just for I have a tendency to squirrel a little bit, and see the new shiny business thing that people are trying and think that I need to go over there and do this right now. Where if I set out quarterly goals, it kind of gives me a little bit more laser focus of, okay, right now, these are the priorities. And if something else comes up, it can wait until next quarter. If it's important, it'll still be there next quarter.
That's true.
And that has been helpful.
So walk us through once you get the idea for a book. Okay, maybe not an idea for a book, because I'm sure you have like a notebook full of ideas, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So once you get like, okay, I'm going to write this book, this story is going to get into the hands of my readers. Right. What is the timeline that you go through, like from that start to when it's actually published, and what's kind of the marketing that you do along the way with that?
Okay. So I always plan my series as a whole. So I always know kind of where the book is going and where it fits in the series, which helps a lot. It also helps for the marketing. I think that reader expectation of, oh, this is book 1. I already know that there's going to be more afterwards.
That's true.
So I write shorter books. I should put that out there as a disclaimer to everyone who's like 15 books.
How many words does your books end up being?
Yeah. So typically 45 to 60,000, I would say.
Okay. So you're on par with a normal, like a nonfiction trade book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Whereas,
shorter than trade romances.
right, because those are more in like the 80,000, right? Okay.
Yes. And if you write in another fiction genre like fantasy or,
Oh my gosh, those are like so long.
thrillers or anything, they're much, much longer. So
Yeah.
I should always caveat my 15 books with like, hey, but they're short.
You're still telling a story and you still have those words on the page. Like, don't sell yourself short.
So I try to plan out my production schedule for the year at the beginning
Okay.
of the year. It always changes. Especially this year, I had some major burnout in the spring and pushed back some releases, but trying to plan out realistically how much I can write in a day or when I have a designated writing day. And then, so how long it will take me to write the book. So right now, I actually have 4 mornings a week dedicated to writing. So I have
Okay.
a good, decent chunk of time, 4 mornings a week to write, which means I can write about 10,000 words in a week pretty comfortably.
Right.
And so then it takes 5 or 6 weeks to write the first draft, a few weeks to edit it, self-edit it. I have a content edit done, and then I'll make those changes. It doesn't really take very long to do that, a week or two, and then I'll send it out for a copy edit. And probably when I send it out for a copy edit, it's going to release within the next month or so.
Okay, so you don't use beta readers.
I don't use very many.
Okay.
And sometimes it will depend on the book. If I'm feeling a little bit more hesitant
Okay.
about it or asking for specific feedback, I'll send it to just a very few
Okay.
trusted people. My content edit is the biggest one. And it is probably closer to just a really deep beta read
Okay.
from somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are just a couple of author friends who,
And I would think that by this point, you pretty much know what your readers expect from you. And so you need more of that content edit support, like making sure you've done this well of telling the story versus like meeting the reader need of like, oh, does this story intrigue you? Is it confusing? Is it right? You don't really need that. You need more of like, hey, am I being consistent in his eye color? Am I
yes.
being consistent with, the overarching story?
Yeah, it's for me, it's a lot of, I do forget to mention physical characteristics at all. Every time one of my beta readers, she'll always be like, I don't know what they look like yet. It's chapter 5. I have no visual sense when I'm writing. I can't see it at all. I can't see when I read
What?
it either. Yeah. So
That is interesting. It's
yeah.
like mind blowing to me because like that's how I like for me when I write it's an image that I'm capturing.
No,
So
mine is just words
interesting.
and story.
Which
And
when you were talking about that you like talked into your recorder, I was like, that would never happen for me. I cannot do that. Like, but I can see that if you're more of that mind of like, you're not necessarily like seeing an image that you're capturing on the page. You're more of just like, are you hearing the story or is it just like an intuitive thing that you know?
I don't know. I just know that I always forget to include physical description of places and people. And so one of my beta readers like only job is to be like, hey, you forgot to tell me this, and I'll just go back in and add it. So it is figure it out. But
so it goes to the copy editor.
Yes, about a month before publication, it goes to the copy editor.
Okay.
She's really fast. She gets it back in about a week, and I go through and approve her changes and all of the commas that she added or took away. And then I format it and I send it to advanced readers and get it uploaded to Amazon.
Did you use just like the KDP formatting tool?
No, I format in Vellum.
Vellum, okay.
Yes, and it's wonderful. I love it. I formatted my first several books in Word.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you poor thing.
It was awful. So Vellum was a much well worth the investment. Yes. And I don't even have a Mac. I have to use like the virtual Mac and all that.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's a little tech headache, but it's so worth it. So
I'm gonna have to look into that because I haven't invested in that yet. But
this in December, of 2022, I have a book coming out. I wrote it starting October 2nd, and I sent it to the copy editor November 8th or 10th or something like that. It's a novella, so it's only 40,000 words, but
Okay.
5 weeks from draft start to copy edit.
That's
beginning.
amazing.
Yes.
But I think that just shows you the power of indie publishing, in that your fast turnaround, you can create a product. So when you're talking about it from a business standpoint, the more products you have out there, the more revenue streams you have, right?
Yeah.
And so the more you of course you want to be marketing each of those, and we can get in that in a second. I don't want to miss out on that. But when you have more products, you have more options to mess around with. You're talking when you are planning it out as a series and your reader knows that you're going to deliver that series pretty quickly, then it's the likelihood that they're going to be buying that series quickly is higher. The fact that you can market it a certain way, the fact that you can tease interest, you're just doing yourself a favor by having the ability to create products quickly. I mean,
yeah,
no business could survive if they were publishing, or not publishing, but if a business put out a product once every 2 years, they would go under. You know what I mean? But
right.
yet we expect that of writers. Hey, publish a book once every 2 years. That's a lot to ask somebody to do. Which is why people have a hard time getting a solid source of income as a writer. It's very hard to do because you're not publishing frequently.
Yeah. The other side of it, I think, is you become more efficient through iteration of the process.
That's true.
So, my first book took 2 years to draft, right? My second book took 6 months. My third book took 3 months. Okay. Now, the more you do something, the more efficient you become at doing that same thing over and over.
Do you feel that you approached your later books differently and more efficiently because you knew that they would have a return on your investment of time?
I think so. I mean, when I first started writing, it was very, very casual. I don't have any Wi-Fi on this plane. I'm gonna, open up this document and see where it goes. And now it's okay. I need to finish this. I've got a target word count. I've got the story in mind. Somebody's waiting for it. I am a big fan of pre-orders on my books. Because I like to see that readers are excited about getting my next story. And I like to see them, comment on the social media post and say, I'm looking forward to this one, or those emails that say, oh, when does the sequel come out? And that's encouraging and motivating for me to know. And I also think that as I go through the process of writing a book, I get to know myself and where I struggle, because I always know I'm going to hit 55 or 60% of the way through the book and feel like this is the worst thing I've ever written. It's horrible. I should just chunk it and start over. But it's so predictable that I get to that point and I have to go, nope, you just power through and you'll fix it later. And that has been a very consistent theme. And I know, and not every writer is at that point, but some writers are different places. Or I've tried, plotting out scene by scene. I've tried plotting out the overall beats. I've tried no plot whatsoever, and it's fun to try new techniques and see what works. Just trying to make my system better.
So after you get to that point where it's going to be published, how far in advance do you start marketing it?
I'm probably marketing books that won't come out for another 6 months right now.
So early and often.
Well, yes, because I think of marketing is not just sharing about the book. The process of marketing is deciding which book to write, deciding on the cover, deciding, all of those are marketing decisions. And so, I have 2 books up for pre-order right now. One is for March of 2023 and one is for July or August. I gave myself a long time in my
Wait, say
world.
that again. March 2023 and
Yeah.
July 2023, and they're already out for pre-order.
Yes.
So what are okay, so talk us through this. So you don't
I
have the
haven't.
book up, right? It's just like a cover and a premise.
Uh-huh.
And have you written those books?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
The only thing I've written on those books is the blurb.
Okay.
Mhm.
This is interesting. So you're approaching it a lot like business coaches kind of in the business world and the online entrepreneur space. When people are launching a product, they start talking about and they pre-sell
Yeah, hype it up.
to hype it up,
Mhm.
and then as they're pre-selling, they're developing the product.
Mhm.
And I would assume that that gives you collateral, not collateral. Is that the word I'm looking for? It gives you the financing to put into the book for development of cover and all that stuff, right?
It
Or
does
no,
not,
because you're not
because you
really
don't
you don't get the money until it
get
sells.
paid until the release
That's
day.
true.
Yeah, but you can see that the money will be there, right? Because you can see the number of
That's true. It kind of
pre-orders.
gives you that it validates your product idea, and then it also,
Yeah.
gives you an incentive to actually complete the book.
Yes, I have talked to authors who will put up pre-orders for 2 different books and 2 different, blurbs, and they'll decide which one to write first based on which one gets the most pre-orders, because clearly people are more excited about the
Right. No, that
story.
makes sense.
So I was like, interesting. I have never done that, but I see the validity of the approach. So
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That really does make sense that you would do it that way.
the other fun thing about having the book available to talk about, and people know it's coming while I'm still in the process of creating it, is for people that are kind of in my reader circle. I can get their input. Hey, I'm looking. The one I is releasing in December. She goes on a bunch of blind dates.
Okay.
And so I was asking in my reader group, I need your worst blind date
You're
stories.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and it was so
Give them
funny.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny. And, some of them made it into the story, and it was just really fun to write.
That is nice. So wait, what's this reader group that you have? Is this like a private Facebook group? Is it a letter?
It's a Facebook group for, people. It's called Tara's Book Nook. And it's, just people who have read my books and like to come hang out with me in a little bit more casual setting.
So do you show up in there pretty frequently?
I try to. Yeah, that's
Okay.
if I've got something fun to share, or I'll share a little bit about, my kids and what we're up to, and funny pictures of me like writing in the car waiting for the pickup line at preschool.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. That's cool. I haven't really heard about an author doing that for just like a select few. I mean, not a select few, but essentially that becomes like an insider
Yeah, it's like an
part
insider
of.
circle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So what other marketing things do you do along the way before or during the launch of your book?
The biggest thing is sharing it with my newsletter, and other authors sharing it with theirs.
Do you have a large number of subscribers to your newsletter?
I have just under 5,000 subscribers, I think.
That's
Yeah,
really a good decent size.
My newsletter is my number one marketing tool. I'm very passionate about authors having a newsletter.
So let's dig into this a little bit right now, because
Okay.
this is like the number one thing that when I talk to other fiction writers, they're like, I just don't know what to like how to get people on my email list. This is so
Oh,
hard. And so I noticed that you give away 2 books and an audiobook, or at least you do right now.
yes.
When I joined your email list, that's what came to me.
Yes.
I was like, man, that's really generous.
They're not full-length books.
Okay. They're
They are,
novellas. Yeah.
well, they're stories. One of them is
Okay.
only 9,000 words, and one of them is
Okay.
only 12,000 words.
So like a short story.
Yeah, they're a short story, novelette, whatever you want to call it.
Novelette. Okay, there you go. That's a marketing word you can use.
Yeah. But I'm very upfront. Like, this is a full story. It's a happily ever after. It's short. but like you're not going to be left on a cliffhanger, because that's what everybody's scared of when they get a
Yeah.
prequel or something is.
Well, I hear people say like, oh, give them the first chapter or give them and not like, so I actually like that they're short, because this is the thing when people are like, well, I should write this novella and give that away for free. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're giving away so much time.
Yeah,
Your
it'll still be
time,
worth it. It'll be worth it.
I suppose, but like when you're talking about, well, okay, let's, in the marketing online space, they talk about an email is worth like $3, $3 or $5, right? And that you're supposed to give 10 times the value. So we're talking like a $30 product, which I guess makes sense. But when your end product, you're selling for like $14.99, you know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, where are we? Like, where does this all balance out in the long run? So that's where I struggle sometimes with the like whole magnet thing.
Yeah, but if you can get somebody on your newsletter, and hopefully you're not just selling them one $14.99 book, you're going to sell them multiple $14.99 books over the author career as they become a super fan of yours because they're on your email list. They're your warmest leads, your most supportive. I'm a big proponent. Be good to your newsletter subscribers.
Yeah,
I will occasionally, if I have a book coming out, I'll just be like, hey, this comes out next week. Here's your free copy. Like,
ooh, okay.
I've done that a time or two just as a thank you, like, or I'll put a book for free and not tell anybody else, but I'll give it away to my newsletter.
Okay. So before you had the books that you could do that with, when you're first starting out, what did you do for your lead magnet, reader magnet? What did you do?
I didn't have one for my first two books. I think I had a newsletter sign up in the back of my books. But pretty quickly I was like, this isn't working. And so I wrote a novella. It's not one of my magnets right now, but it was like a book 2.5 in my series.
Okay.
Some of the stuff happened concurrently and within the book that was book 2. And I gave that became my reader magnet for a long time. It's about 25,000 words. So it was a bigger investment. I hit publish on that the morning I went into labor with one of my children. Like, done. I'm done. So,
I can go have the baby now. I got this one done.
I got it formatted and I put it up on BookFunnel and I went into labor.
You said BookFunnel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a tool that fiction writers can use to deliver a ebook. So it's not like just a PDF file, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. But the most powerful part of BookFunnel is actually the ways that you can use it to collaborate with other authors.
Oh,
and
okay.
So what authors will do on there is they'll all pool all of their newsletter magnets onto one landing page, and everybody will send it out to their newsletter. So you'll get 15 authors. They'll all send to their newsletters, and you'll have a landing page with all the magnets, and their readers can look and download all of the ones that they want and sign up for all of these other newsletters.
Okay.
So I grew my list from, I think I probably had like 15 people on it.
To your mom and your aunt, right?
Yes, 100%. And very quickly it was 500 people, 700 people. And so once you had people on your list that you didn't know in real life, it was much more fun to send a newsletter and to like, oh, this isn't just for, these 10 people, not that I don't love those 10 people, but it definitely made it a little bit more of a priority. You could see the opportunity of, oh, even if only half of these 500 people would open my email with my book in it, like, oh, maybe 5% of them will click it. There's power there that you don't see other places in the marketing world.
Yeah.
So
that's really
my number one advice for almost any new author is create a newsletter magnet, set up a newsletter, and go get some subscribers.
So. Okay. And so would you suggest the novelette or novella? What other leader magnets do you suggest?
I think it's very dependent on genre.
Okay.
I think, nonfiction, there's tons of options for articles and lists and printables and, all sorts of those things.
Right.
In the fiction world, even flash fiction, like can be a suitable
Right.
reader magnet. But a short story is great. I think a short story is probably a little bit better than flash fiction, just because they get a taste of like, can they tell a story
Yes.
versus one scene. A full book is 100% the best, like,
Okay.
conversion.
I will say you have changed my mind on that, because I was like, why would you give away something like that? But if you're thinking long term, so if you're being intentional about it and like, I'm gonna have more than one book coming out, this is long-term investment into my readership, then I can see
the
it being very beneficial.
the most successful author friend that I have actually used her first full-length book as a reader magnet before it released, used her second full-length book as a reader magnet before it released, and still
Wow.
released them and still had great sales and really launched a really successful career. And she had a newsletter list of like 2,500 people because she gave away books 1 and 2 of her series
Yeah.
in exchange for their email address right off the top. And I was looking at that, you know, you're like, this doesn't make sense, but yet it does.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so we only have a little bit of time left. And so I want to make sure I could like just keep, asking you questions.
You can come back
But
again.
yeah, we might have to do
We'll
a
do
part
one
2.
all on newsletters.
Yes, for sure. Two final questions. One, what marketing, business strategy, or whatever you want to call it, what do you wish you had known when you first started that you know now? And then 2, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a fiction writer and who wants to go the indie publishing route?
Okay.
If those aren't too difficult for you to answer. Like kind of through the really deep ones that you write at the very
You've
end.
got 3 minutes and go. Okay. Number one piece of, or what I wish I had known, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. I wish I had been willing to spend money on my books sooner.
Okay.
I really, what do you call it? Bookstrapped. I bootstrapped my first several releases. I didn't pay for covers. I made them myself. I didn't pay for editing and had, my mom proofread them.
Yep.
And formatted them myself in Word and, made lots of technical mistakes. And so I feel like it set me behind because I ended up, maybe not launching quite as strong, or there were readers who tried me when I was really new and it wasn't a great experience for them. And so while I love my leap before you look mentality, I wish I had waited a little while and learned some things and spent the money to do it right the first time.
Yeah.
So I have since gone back and professionally edited all of those and paid for new covers and rewritten a bunch of things, but I wish I hadn't had to do that.
Right. Right. So you wish you had taken the time to see it as a business investment that you're going to get your money back on eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until about a year in, I really felt like God was telling me, no, be bold. And so I was nervous. I didn't want to pay money to run a sale or anything like that. And so when I kept getting that message, I was like, okay. So I spent money on, spent money to give books away for 99 cents. And, and that was when things really started to kind of take the upward trajectory. And I wish I would have done that sooner.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then what advice do you have for somebody who wants to be a fiction writer?
I would say be patient, because you can do everything right and it can still take time to build up a following and find your audience, and have enough books to be able to do some of the things that are powerful marketing wise in the indie world. There are things that aren't as effective until you have more books out. And so I would say be patient and keep writing. Be patient and keep writing.
That's good. Well, Tara, I loved this conversation so much. I wish we could just keep chatting, but we both need to go to bed so we can get up and go write tomorrow, right?
That's right.
So, can you please let us know where to find your newest release and all the other things, so we can make sure we can go and support you in the work that you're doing?
Thank you. Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Tara Erickson Author. And you can find my website, taragraceericson.com. And I also have a Prayers for Writers book coming out that will
Oh,
cover
that's so cool.
craft and business and different seasons of writing, more of a devotional prayer journal style that I'm really excited about. So that'll be up on my socials as well when it's available.
Awesome. And we can they buy your books on your website, or do they need to go to like
On
another
Amazon.
an
Yeah,
Amazon? Okay.
Amazon's a big one.
But if they go to your website, they can get to the books
Yes.
too, right? Okay. And so once again, congratulations on the release. And what was the book that released this week?
Hostile Intent. It's a romantic suspense.
Ooh, that was something else I wanted to ask you about, because you have written in a couple, like, they're Christian romance, but they're like more on the like small town feel type, and then now you have this like
Yeah, the suspense is
suspense,
new.
suspense.
Suspense is new. It's really fun to branch out and give myself a little bit of a
A challenge.
exciting challenge. Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. I love that. I love that you aren't necessarily pigeonholing yourself into one specific aspect of Christian romance. So I love that. Well, maybe you'll have to talk about that on another episode too. I
Sounds
love it so
good.
much. All right. Well, thank you once again for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. It has been so enlightening. I know I have learned some new things. I know those who are listening will have learned some new things as well, and will be encouraged to continue to think about this as a business and think strategically and with that investment mindset. So I really do appreciate our conversation today.
Thank you
And
so
for
much for having me.
You're welcome. And for those of you who are listening, make sure you come back next week as we continue this conversation on the business of Christian fiction. Bye.